Okay, fine. So I will explain this program from first. So first, whenever we are creating the object, it will simply go for the instance block and then for the constructor. Okay, so this is the instance block. So this will get executed and then we will execute this constructor, default constructor, because this we are not passing anything here in the bracket. So it will by default call the default constructor. Okay, I'm moving to the next line. So this also got executed. Now you can see we are calling this constructor in Java 5 means parameterized constructor here. So first it will go for the instance block and then it will go for the constructor actually at line number 16. So first it will go at line number 9. Okay, so it will print inside instance block, then it will go for the 12 line number 12, then it will go inside the constructor. Okay, so in such a way we will get the output of the instance block and the constructor. Okay, today I'm not sure, but sometimes chat window not getting opened at my side. Yeah, fine. Keval asks one question. What is significance of using instance block? Suppose if you want to execute or if you have to print something before the constructor, then we can use the instance block. Actually, it is again used in very rare case actually. Okay, okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. So one question I missed, I think. What is the difference between equal and equals? Okay. So equal is actually, sorry, dot equals is actually used to compare the content of the string, and equal is used to compare the memory location of that particular string. So I will show you the example in the Eclipse. I am creating a new package. Session 6 finish. Public static void main finish. String A is equal to sample string B is equal to again same. Now this A dot equals B. Now let's execute this. Now you can see this. If you are using A dot equals, it will actually it will check for the content only, means as a character actually. If that is matching, then it will just return the true, and it will just check for the memory location. I will just print this A value now. Value, It will just remember this. It just compare the memory location, means where actually we have stored the sample in the hard, actually in the memory of the JVM. So it will never pass if you use equal in this case. Okay. So any doubts here? Okay, fine. Moving to the next point, next slide. Okay. So interface and the abstract class. Okay. So what is interface and what is the abstract class? Okay. So abstract means without the body. Okay. So just remember this. If you are just pointing, if you are just creating a method without a body, that's an abstract method. And any suppose one class having at least one abstract class, abstract method, that's the abstract class. Means a criteria to have a abstract class, we should have at least one abstract method there. Okay, I will show the example for this abstract class, and I will just explain the what is the benefits of the abstract class. Creating a new class. Abstract class example. Now I have provided this curly braces, means my method is defined actually, I can say. Now I have not written anything, but it's a defined state. So I will just define one more method. Public void this one only. Okay. So now I don't want to implement anything here. I just want to define the body. Just declare the method name actually. So the implementation I can go and implement in the later classes. So in this way, I can just define the abstract class. Now you can see the error here. So at least it is expecting to add the body, or it is asking me to change the abstract class type example dot abstract method, means this abstract method to abstract. So I will just prefer the second option. I will save this. Yeah. Now I have done the one change. Then again, I'm getting another error actually. It is asking me to change the class to the abstract because I have one abstract method now in this class. Okay, again, I will just change this, make type abstract class example to the abstract. Okay, so this is the abstract class. Means abstract class can have concrete method. This is a concrete method, and this is the abstract method. Concrete means it's with the definition, and abstract means without definition, without body. But what is use of this abstract body? Suppose if you are going for the next class, and if you can just extend in the class, we have to implement this body for this abstract method there in the subsequent classes. Okay, for now just remember this part only, what is the abstract class, and later section when we going through the inheritance, that time I will show how to implement this method in the later subsequent classes. Okay, so this is the abstract class. Remember, abstract class can have this concrete method as well as abstract method. Now I'll go for the interface. Okay. New, and interface option is there in the Eclipse, or we can manually create. Interface example. Now here I'll just define the method. Just declare the method actually. I can give any name, interface method A. It's showing the error. Return type, yeah, void. Yep. So here I have defined the method. Actually, I have declared the method. So multiple method I can declare here. So this is the interface. For example, if you are, I will take the example of the bank actually. Suppose if you are working with the multiple banks and you are developing the software for that. So every bank has different calculation for the interest rate. Okay. So suppose, for example, there is home loan, there is a personal loan, there is some consumer loan actually as well. So for this different calculation for different bank. So what will we do? We will simply provide the interface to the every bank. Okay. Suppose we have provided this interface to the bank, and what bank will do? Bank will just implement this method as per their requirement, as per their different calculation. So that's their own choice actually. So we just give the method, we just provide the methods that has to be implemented at their side, but the calculation will be different. Okay, I will just change this method name actually to make it more clear. Interface calculate PL loan. Then I will say calculate home loan. And consumer loan. Okay, so only we provide this type of input interface and they will implement as per their requirement. So that is the benefit of the interface. Any questions till now? You're not getting this. What is the abstract class and what is interface? The main benefit of the abstract class and interface, we can have the only declaration, not a definition, and subsequent classes where we are implementing this interface or we are extending the abstract class. We should give the implementation there. Okay. Fine. So I will just reading this point from the abstract class and interface. Okay. So abstract class can extend another concrete or regular class or abstract class. I will show you this in inheritance actually. Okay. So interface can only extend another interface. So I will just show you this actually here. Suppose I have, okay, I will show that in real-time example only. That's fine. You will not understand now. Okay, so abstract class can have abstract and concrete method. Abstract method means with only declaration and concrete method means with the body. Both method can have in the abstract class. And in the interface, we can have only abstract methods. Only declaration we can give in the interface. Okay, so in abstract class, abstract is a mandatory to declare method as abstract. So you can see it here. This method is also abstract, line number 14, and in interface, this method is also abstract. But here we have not mentioned that abstract keyword because that's not mandatory here in the interface. By default, it's abstract. But in the abstract class, we have to mention this abstract keyword explicitly. Then only it will consider as an abstract method. Okay. So I think we can write here abstract keyword. It won't show any error. Yeah, it's showing the error because internally, let me check. Yeah. Right, we can explicitly give the abstract keyword, but it's not mandatory actually. We can just simply delete and keep it as. Okay, so by default it's abstract, so we need to mention the abstract keyword in the interface. That is the meaning of this line number 4. Then 5, in abstract class can have protected and public abstract classes, abstract methods, and in interface can have only public abstract methods. The reason behind that, in interface can implemented by anyone, so it can be accessed outside the package, outside the classes. So that's why it should be always public. And this actually class, so class can be only protected public, and we can say it's a default. There is no restriction. But for interface, it should be public always. Just remember this, because it can implemented by anyone. So it should be public always. So that access, that public, private, protected, and default, that I will show in the subsequent slides today. So any question here in the interface and abstract class, guys? Okay, fine. Going to the next slide, static variable and function. I think we have covered this in the last, but I'll repeat this again. So static variable and function are loaded when the class is loaded. Class program is started actually before the main method. So we have given the example for the static as well in the last session. Okay. So second point, from static object, it is not possible to access normal object. So suppose if you have created any method which is a static, so inside that we have to access the static variables only, because see, static method will get loaded at the time before the main method. And if you are just changing the value of particular variable and that is being changed from one value to another value, we cannot access it inside that static method, because static method is already called by the compiler before the main method. That's the reason we should only call the static variable in the static method. There is a diagram actually, variable. Yeah, you can see the static function, static variable only. We cannot access the normal variable inside the static function or static method. Okay. So any doubts in the static variable function? So if there is no doubt, I can go ahead for the next one. Okay, okay, fine. Yeah. So modifiers. One question. Can we put a static method in the interface? Yes, we can put, Mayuri. Okay, just now time being, just go for the basic things. Don't be confused between static and non-static. I mean, you should aware of what is static, what is non-static, but just go for these simple things that I'm showing right now actually. Okay, so if you are clear with this, you can do the R&D and you can just do the more enhancement there. Okay, so moving to the next slide. Access modifiers. Okay, so yeah, you can see there are 4 types of access modifier: public, default, private, and protected. So public is accessible anywhere actually, it's outside the classes, outside the package. That's the benefit of the public. There is no restriction. It is a less restrictive. Okay. Then you can go for the default. Default can be accessed within the Java package, but inside the class and outside the class. Simple. But it cannot go beyond the Java package. Default one. Private can be accessed within the class only, which is a very restrictive. We cannot go outside we cannot access the private method outside the class. And for protected can be accessed outside the package, but only with the inheritance. Okay, you can see it here. Protected only can be accessed outside the package, but it's a child class actually. Child class means we have to inherit that particular class, and then only we can access outside the package, the protected one. Okay, so I will show this practically how we can access by creating the classes and methods. Okay, so first you can see this diagram. So public is a very less restrictive, then protected, then default, and then private. Private is a very much restrictive. It is limited only for the class. We cannot access that outside the class. Okay, we will do practical for this now. I will create a class, access modifiers. One. I will just create one more class, access modifier 2. Now I'll define some methods here. I will define 4 type of method now: public, private, protected, and default. Public void method A, So this is the default one. We are not providing any keyword here. Now go for the protected and then private. So you can see method A, method B, method C, and method D. Okay. So it's a first and public, then default, then protected, and then private. Now simply what will I do? I will just call this method in another class, this access modifier 2. So simply I will create a object of this access modifier 1, this class. I will just minimizing this below window. Okay, I will just create object of this access modifier 1 into another class. In this class, I will try to access this method. You can see how many methods we can access. Method A, here is a method B. We are not getting error miss. We are able to access that methods. Method C and method D. So for method D, I'm getting the error. So I will see what error I'm getting here. It's showing the method D from the access modifier 1 is not visible. Okay. So why it is not visible? Because it's a private. You can see it here. It's a private. So it is not able. We are not able to call that outside the class. Okay, outside this class. So same method we will call it here in the same class for the for method. Okay, so I will simply copy this code and paste it in the same class here. So here you can see I'm not getting an error because the private method are accessible in the same class. Okay, so which is very restrictive. Okay, so I'm just simply commenting this code. I'm just putting. I'm just after this class, I will just comment this whole code in the Git repository, so you can take a pool and you can just execute at your own side. Okay. Private is accessible only in same class. Okay, fine. Now what will you do? I will create one more package. Session 6-1. Hyphen is not permitted here. We'll put some dot is also not allowed. I will just make it 61. Create one class here. Access modifiers 3. Okay. So what will I do? I simply call that method again in this new package. Okay. So I'm copying this all the methods by calling that object, class object, simply pasting it into the another package. Okay. Now here you can see I'm not able to access 2 methods, 3 methods actually. Okay. So this method A is a public, as you know that. I will just go inside this method. It's a public. Okay. So there is no issue in accessing this method. Then second one is a, I forgot the sequence. I'll just minimize this one. Okay. So second one is default, protected, private. We are not able to access these 3 methods. outside the package. Okay. I will just put not permitted outside package. So I'll comment this out. Okay. Now what will I do? I will create one more class, or yeah, I won't create a new class. I will just simply extend. No, I will create a new class. Yeah. Otherwise it will create a confusion again. Access modifiers. Now we are just looking for the protected one. Okay. So we have to access the protected outside the package. Now I know I have defined method here in the access modifier one class. Okay. And I have to access this method now, because this is not accessible outside the package without the inheritance. So simply I will just copy this class name. I will just use the keyword extends. And use this class name where I have defined actual methods. You can say I'm just going inside this class. I'm getting these methods here. So I will just first tell the meaning of this line actually. Okay. So this is my new class. I'm extending this class with the due this class actually. So this is a base class or a parent class. Okay. So whichever the method are written here in this class can be accessed in here actually in this class, in the current class, by using this extends keyword. This is actually the inheritance. This is a parent child relationship. Okay. So access modifier 1 is a parent and access modifier 4 is a child of that class. Okay. So I will create object of this class only. Okay. Access modifier 4. I will not create object of this access modifier 1 now. Okay. Now you can see we are able to access this method and method C. The method A is a public, that of course it's accessible everywhere. No worry about that. And we are able to access that another method as well, method C. So method C is, you can see it's a protected one. So remember, this protected method can be accessed outside the package with the inheritance concept. And other two method, of course, we are not able to access outside the package, the default one and the private one. I will just show you it. I will just copy it here for the defining two method and will show the error. So this is a B default method and this is a private method. So both the method cannot be accessed outside. Yeah, it's showing change visibility method B to protected. Then only it can be accessible. So we're not going to change accessibility. So we'll just comment out this code. And now we can see there is no error in the code. Okay, so any question here in the access modifier? This is also important part. In maximum cases, we use public, private. In some cases, we use the default. Protected is rare, again in very rare case. But we should know. If we override the method, can we change the access modifier? Question from the Diksha. If you want to override the method, override is okay. I will just try. You want to override method A, for example. We'll just copy this method. And make it private. Yeah, you can see it. We are getting error actually. We cannot change. Cannot reduce the visibility of the inheritance method. So the answer for the Diksha is no, we cannot. Okay. So any more question from this access modifiers? Okay. Okay, fine. So like access modifier, there are again non-access modifier as well, like a static, final, abstract, synchronize. So this will simply tell to JVM that particular action should be performed. Suppose if you are calling the static, so the static can be called before the main method. The just JVM tell to JVM just notified that actually. And for final, if you provide the final, it will just JVM just understand that we are just don't have to change the value of that particular constant. So it's a final. So like abstract and synchronize, these are the non-access modifiers. So synchronize is used basically for the multi-threading concept. So for example, if you are writing the Excel sheet from the two different person, okay. So suppose if you started writing on that Excel sheet, someone might else parallelly write on that, and it might result into corruption or loss of data. So avoid that, we are using the synchronized word in the multi-threading. So just remember this synchronized. It is to not to miss it to avoid the data loss. We are using this synchronized in the multi-threading. Okay, guys, any questions yet till now? Okay, fine. Moving to the next. Yeah, polymorphism. Polymorphism simply it's taking a more than one form. Type of polymorphism are static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. So a static polymorphism is a method overloading, and we can see it's a compile time actually. Method overloading happen at compile time. And dynamic polymorphism it's a method overriding, and that's a runtime actually. And it's achieved through it's a runtime and achieved through the inheritance concept. Okay, I will go for this one by one for this polymorphism, method overloading and method overriding. So simply the definition is given here in for the method overloading and riding. Okay, so method overloading means we are simply keeping the method name as the same and we are just simply changing the parameter. We can just swipe the parameter or we can just increase the number of parameters in the existing method with the same name. That's a method overloading in same class. Okay, and anywhere we are thinking about the method overriding, we are just using the two different classes. Like I told you, we can use the parent and child class, and we can use the same method name in the child class. That is a method overriding, but we should not change the parameters in case of method overriding. So I will just show this practically. Okay, now I creating one more class in the session 6 method overloading. I'm just copying this public static void main method. Okay, so for now I'll keep it as a blank. Okay, so I'm just creating one method here, public void addition. For addition, I need at least two parameters, right? So I will just put integer a comma integer b. I will just print the output. Okay, so this is my first method, but in some case I might need to pass some extra parameters here. So what will I do? I will just simply increase the parameter in this only. I will not change this method name here. Okay, so integer c. Okay, and I will just increase the parameter in the system.out.println as well. Okay, now you can see method name is same in both the cases, only the parameter number has been increased. Okay, so I will just call this method from the main class. So I will create the object here, method overloading. Every time I'm using the control space bar to get the suggestions here. Okay. Dot addition. Now it is giving me two suggestions actually. One with a 2 parameter, one is a 3 parameter. Okay. I can simply pass 1, 2. I'm just copying this again. And now in this time I will just pass a 3 parameter, 1, 2, 3. And I will simply see the output. Now you can see it's a 1, 2. It's just concatenated actually. I will just use another variable to print the values. Integer c is equal to a plus b. Because I use this plus variable, that's why it is considered it as a string. So that's why it just printed 1, 2 and 1, 2, 3. So I will just print like this. I will just use the variable c here. Now I'll execute this program. Now you can see the right output 3 and 6. So any doubts in method overloading? Suppose if there is a different kind of parameter, suppose if you're passing string here, I will just show you another example as well here. We'll just copy this. I will just put some name function A. Same name I will put it here to overload the method. Here some parameter I will pass as a string A and then integer B. Okay, forget about this part. I'm not passing anything here inside. So simply I can just swipe the parameter as well here. Integer B. String A. Now you can see in this two method I just swipe the parameter with the another actually. Suppose in first method string is a first parameter, but in the second method string is a second parameter. So I just swiped out the parameters. So this is also method overloading with the same parameters, same parameter count actually. Okay. Any doubts in the method overloading? Okay, fine. Moving to the next part, inheritance now. Okay. So I will create one. Okay, fine. I will create one more class here. Not interface actually. I need to create a class. Class A. Wait. Yeah, actually I have missed some chat. I'm just reading that. Okay. Okay, I think I missed some chat from the Diksha, Keval, and just now Ritesh pinned. Okay, I will just cover this part and then I will just go through these questions. Okay, fine. Method A. Method B. I'm using shortcut Control A, Control I to make this alignment proper. Okay, Control A for selecting all file, selecting all content, then Control I for indentation. Okay, just remember this to make your code clean. Okay, fine. Now I'm creating class B. So now what will I do? I will just extend. Just simply think that I have to use this method in another classes. Okay, so I will just use this class B to extend that parent class. I will just use this extends class A. Okay, so here I will simply create object of the class B, the current class only, class B. Class B is equal to new class B. Now you can see we can able to access this method and method B here. So because we are just using inheritance concept. Okay, so anything that is defined in the parent class can be accessed in the child class. That is the intention of this inheritance concept. Same for the method B. Okay, I will go through the questions now. Yeah. Question from the Ritesh, sir, can you please give any business objective example of polymorphism? Polymorphism actually, for example, in the automation project. Okay, I will talk about the automation project. Suppose if you want to do some common actions, for example, if you want to invoke the Chrome browser before every test case, okay, and if you have to tear down that browser after the test case execution, the same code can be put into one class, one common class, okay, and that class should be used to extend another class where actually we have written the test cases. So in that case, what will happen? It will simply execute that common code from the base class to open the Chrome browser and to tear down the Chrome browser, Chrome driver, or Chrome browser at the end of the script. In that case, this is an important part, inheritance. And this is a part of the polymorphism. Ritesh, I think Ritesh asked a question. Yeah. Okay. And if you talk about the method overloading, suppose there is any requirement, suppose any function that we have written. In some cases, we need 2 parameters. In some cases, we need 3 parameters because it's again everything depend on the application. If suppose if you want to do some calculation, and in the one application we are seeing the 2 values, and in another application we are seeing 3 values. So in both the cases, our code should work. So we should not just create one method and we should adjust in that method. We can create a new method and we can use accordingly as per our requirement. Pritesh. Okay, fine. So the polymorphism, actual polymorphism and method overloading, I will just show in the when we are actually working on the automation project. I will show you how to open the browser, how to close, how to perform some action. In that case, we will create a proper framework structure, and based on that, you can just understand where actually we are using this concept. Okay, this is just a overview and theory kind of theory part, and just a few practicals are there. But in real time, you will understand when we actually automate the application on the web. Okay. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Question from the Karan. Can you explain the method overriding? Okay. So yeah. Okay, fine. I will just create one method here again. Public void. I will just keep the same name, which I have defined in the class A, method A. Now I will just print something here, so you will understand which method is called. This is out. Class B and method A. And I will just go inside this class A now. And in method A, I will just print this class A, method A. Okay, you can see this is class A. I will just printing this out because you should understand which method got called at runtime. Okay, class A, this is a class A, and method A, this is the method A. Now I'll execute this class B. Okay, before execution, what do you think, guys? What output should printed here in this case? Because I'm executing only class B now. So you can chat in the window. Because see, the method A and method B are present in this class A. You can see method A and method B. But again, I have put the method A. I will just again put the method B as well. That's fine. Again, I will put it here. This is again important concept that you have to understand. Now tell me, what is output of this program? Can you tell me just that? If I execute this program, what will be the output? It will print this one, or will it print from this parent class? This one, or you are not getting anything? Okay, so I will tell you. So whenever this method, actually you can see we are using inheritance concept here. Same method has been defined in the class A, means in parent class or a base class. Okay, and same method are defined in the class B, means here as well, in local as well. So whenever I am creating object of class B, it will just look for the method A in the local first. If they're finding method A in the local here in the same class, then it will give priority there. Otherwise, it will look for the methods, same method name in the class A, in the parent class actually. Now, in this case, I have defined the method in the same class, so it will simply give priority to these methods. Okay. I will just execute this and I will show you the output. So you can see class B, method A. Means from here only it just this method got called. Now suppose I have not implemented this method. I'm deleting this, saving the program. Now simply it will look for the methods in the parent class. It will just go inside this class and it will call this method. Okay. So I'm just click and I will just using the control and click. It will just go inside this method. You can see it will just call this method. This is actually the method overriding. Okay, run as the application. Now you can see it's printing class A method E. So whenever we are using this extend keyword, if the method are defined here in the class A, so we should not, it's not mandatory to define the method in our local class, in the existing child class. Okay, but if you want to define, we can define. That is called as a overriding. Okay, so concept is clear. Okay, you're pinging me something, but I am not getting the notification at time when I'm speaking. I'm not sure what happened today. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, perfect. Diksha, right? Yeah. Okay, fine. It will. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, great. Got answer from Diksha, Ritesh, Karan, Nagendra. Okay, fine. Okay, yes. Yeah. Now you can see class can extend another class. Okay. Same way, interface can extend another interface. Okay. Now I will show a example there. Interface. Now this is one interface. Now I got a notification for the chat. If one question from the Nagendra: if both class A and class B having the same method, then how it access class A method? Okay, one question. Okay, I will just tell you. Now in the class B, I have deleted the method definition for the method and method B. That's why it is not present in the this class. So it called the method. It's just called the method from the class A. If I just give the methods here, then it will just give the priority to this local method instead of going to the parent class.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, if
Yeah.
both class having same methods, for example, you put the method in B class and already class having a method, then how could I access the class A method? If I have to create the object of class A, or it can be accessed through a class object of class B.
Suppose if you want to access the method of the class A, so you can simply delete this, right? If you want to add some extra things, what is the intention of accessing the method of class A here? If you want to access the method from class A, so simply we will not define the method in this current class, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
If you define, then it will just call the current one.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Now you can go through this diagram. So we have done the single inheritance, actually, the class A, class B. Okay. Then we can do multi-level inheritance. Suppose I will just do one example here. Now I will define one class C here. Means it will like a relationship like a grandparent, parent, and then child. Class C. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Now Now you can see we have extended the class B with the class A. Now what will I do? I will just extend the class C with the class B. Okay. Now you can see the hierarchy again from class A. So class A is a parent one, top one. Okay. Then class B, simply consider class A as a grandparent. Okay. Okay. Now, so now in class B, we have extended with the class A. And now this class B, we are going to extend it somewhere in the class C. Okay. So now I will try to call the function. Means I will just see the availability of the function that I'm going to use. I'm just getting the access in this class C. I will create object of the class C. Class C is equal to new class C. Now you can see we are able to access the method A and method B here as well. Okay. What will happen? Why will happen this actually? So you can see the method are not actually present in the class B. If I deleted that, yeah, I have deleted from here, but this method are present in class A. So it will simply inherit through the hierarchy actually. From A, it will be taken into the B. From B, it will be taken into the C. So we can access same method in the class C as well. Okay, this is a multi-level inheritance. Okay, so this is a multi-level like this. Class A, class B extends A, and class C extends class B. Okay. Got 3 pings. Okay, let me go through that. Yeah. Okay. Ritesh, question from Ritesh actually. When it give priority to the child class method, can you explain it again? I confused there. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Always look for the local methods. Okay. So when the methods are defined in the local, this in the child class, okay, so it will give priority to the child class. If it is not present in the child class, then it will go for this parent class. Okay, so I'll just what will I do? I will just define the method again to explain again one more time, or it's a clear. We got one ping again. Yes, Ritesh, it's about the method. We are just using the method from the parent classes. Fine. Okay, that's fine. Then we'll go for the next point, hierarchical inheritance. So class A can, now here we can see class B can extend class A and class C can extend class A. Okay. Means same class can be the parent of 2 child. That's a simple concept again, that just see this diagram. That's there, won't cause any issue. Okay. And you can go for the last multiple inheritance. And you can see the comment here in the red. Java does not support multiple inheritance. Okay. So can anyone just unmute and tell why it can happen? Why it won't support the multiple inheritance? Me suppose if I want to, yeah. Tell me, who is that?
Sir, this is Shubham. Ambiguity, because of ambiguity. Yeah, the child class will not be able to fix that which method he is wanting
Yes.
to call, maybe from class 1 or class B.
Right. That's why it's not supporting multiple inheritance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Yes, and it can be only done through interface.
Yep. Right. So any questions till now? You have to understand this thing thoroughly actually, because this is frequently used at framework level. And if you are not able to understand this thing, you are not able to make change at framework level in the automation. Okay, if I'm just checking the chat window if I missed anything, because there is some issue in the chat window today. Okay, I think no new questions. Okay, fine. Then okay, fine. Now moving to the exceptions and the error. Okay. when we are dealing with the coding, for sure at some point we will get at least exceptions. Okay, error or exception I can say. Okay, because the it can be runtime. It if you have passed any incorrect value or if you are getting some value from the UI that is not a valid, so we can expect the error or exceptions. So just we will go through this exception error. So just understand what is error and what is exception. So error are that things that are not in our control. Actually we cannot control that, and we cannot do the preventive measure on the error. Okay, so error can be stack overflow error, that's due to the memory again, and the out of memory error. So if our JVM is running out of memory, that's again system issue that we cannot control. Okay, this both error are due to the memory only. Okay, fine. And talking about the exception, suppose exception, if you know what kind of exception we are getting, then we can do the preventive measure and we can just write a code accordingly. For example, if you know in our code we have done some arithmetic operation and we might get the arithmetic exception there, so we will simply put try catch block there and we will simply put the arithmetic exception. Okay, this is the unchecked exception. This is a checked exception actually. Sorry, unchecked exception. And unchecked exception we just put in the try catch block. Okay, and in some cases if you trying to deal with the files. Okay, so if we know the file might be missing, file might be corrupted, we are not able to access that. So in that case, compiler will show the error directly. Okay, that is a checked exception. Means checked exception we get at compile time only, not runtime. We should not wait till runtime. That is a checked exception. So in exception there are two types. We'll just open the notepad window here to avoid the confusion. Exceptions. First is a checked exception. Second is the unchecked exception. So this we handle at a compile time only, before execution of the program, compile time. Okay, and this we look for the runtime. And for this examples are file handling. For file handling we should handle the IO exception, input output exception actually, and database connection as well. I will simply put DB connection here. This kind of checked exception we get at compile time, and I will just put example here for the runtime. We can say it's a arithmetic or array out of bound exception, because we should not there can be some issue with the array index at runtime. We cannot judge before the execution of that code, so that's we got in the runtime, array index out of bound exception. These are just example to understand you. Okay, forget about the spelling, there might be some spelling mistake. Okay, so again one more time I'm repeating, error cannot be controlled by us. Exception we can handle and we can do the preventive measures there. Okay, so you can see in the diagram IO exception and SQL exception, these are the checked exception, and this runtime exception are unchecked exception. So this we can handle it in the try catch block. Again I will show for show practical for this exception as well, not for error, because we cannot reproduce this error every time. Okay, so exception we can see it here from this first point. It is possible to recover from the exception, means we can do the preventive measures there. That's why exception can be checked and unchecked. Okay, so checked means we can handle it at compile time, and unchecked means we can handle it runtime. All the exception are type of Java line exception. These are the package again. This is or imported from this package. Checked exception are known to compiler, whereas unchecked exception are not known to the compiler. So check, as I also said that checked exception can be handled by at the compile time, because it is known to the compiler. Compiler know that if you are using the database connection or if you are using the file class, so it is expected that this kind of error we can get in the future. So it will just give the notification and we can just fix that at the compile time only. So exception are caused by the application. Okay, means due to some human error we can say, or due to some values that we are taking from the application, or URs from something. From application means it can be anything. From database we are taking the wrong values. So it is caused by the application. Example are class cast exception, SQL exception, I exception. Okay. So class cast exception happen when we are trying to cast the class into an incompatible classes. That's a class cast exception. That is again runtime. This is all about the exception. Then for the error, yeah, it is impossible to recover from errors. All error are unchecked type of exception. And this belong to classes Java Lang error. And previously we see that exception are from the Java Lang exception. Okay. Then, yeah. The compiler known they are not known to the compiler actually. They mostly happen at runtime. The error. This one error are caused by the environment in the which application is running. Means it can be due to the system issue as well. That's why it's showing it's due to the environment. And this example are stack overflow and out of memory error. Okay, these are the description of the error and the exception. Okay, so now we will see how to handle this exception. Okay, so I will open the next slide. Okay, so first you can see try catch block. So there are multiple ways to handle the exception. We can use try catch. We can have throw keyword at inside the method. We can have throws keyword at method signature level. Means when we define the public void method A, within after parameter we can just define the method the throws keyword, throws particular this I exception. That kind of exception we can handle. So we will go one by one there. So we will go for this try catch block first. So I'm just writing the code for try catch block now. Exception handling. I'm writing one method again, method A. It's my habit to give the method A like this name only. So now here I will just write a code to create an exception. Integer A is equal to 1. I'm writing a simple code. Integer B is equal to 0. Integer C is equal to A divided by B. So now here I'm expecting the exception, right? So I'm just printing this. There is no need to print, but I will print this. Division the C. Now I will execute this program. Now this is a human mistake actually. At least we should aware. And if the code is complex, then we cannot judge at this point. But now I know I'm getting exceptions, but still I have not handled that. Okay. So I'm just expecting the exception now. Why it is not giving H? Oh, I have not called the method. Now I'm expecting the error. So not error, exception. Okay. So my program got terminated abnormally and I'm not able to print this statement. Okay. The program termination happened at line number 14. So what will I do? I'll just simply put the try catch block around this. If I know I can get the exception, I will simply put try, not this. I will use the curly brace. I will just complete the code within a try block. Okay, now exception got caught here actually in this, but it should be thrown somewhere. So I'm just using this catch. This will catch. Okay, so I will just printing the sentence here. Sysout exception. Now I'll execute. Now you can see output is in exception block, means this block got executed. But simply see that this code is not got executed, right? But what is the benefit of this? Our program not got terminated abnormally. We know we can get the exception. That's why we have written some code, this try and catch block, and our program gets executed successfully. Forget about the result for this part, but at least the program won't terminate abnormally in this case. That is the benefit of the using try catch block here. Okay, so yeah, so I will just write some code here again. If you are working with the big application, so simply think that our this kind of this code will not work, but at least the remaining part will work in that case. Okay, so I will just check if this statement is printing or not in this case. Okay, okay, outside try block. Okay, so means this part there is exception at this point. This got terminated abnormally internally, but it is handled by the catch block. This catch block got executed, and then the remaining code got executed. Okay, in try catch. Okay, so now I know that actually this is a parent one. Actually, exception, you see, it's a parent class of every exception. So I know I can get the arithmetic exception. So what will I do? I will not give this exception parent class. I will just provide the arithmetic exception here, because I know I should get arithmetic exception. So I will print this. Okay, now I will just execute this. I will get the same output here again. Okay, now what will I do? I will just give, suppose in this code I am getting only one exception, arithmetic, but it might happen I might get some different exception. I mean, at one time I'm getting arithmetic exception, at another point I'm getting array out of bound exception. So it can be variety of exception. So we can have multiple catch block here in that case. We'll just put arithmetic, not arithmetic, array out of bound exception. I will put it here. And that at the last I will just put the exception. Now you can see in Java, execution sequence is always from top to bottom. Okay, so first it will check for this one. If arithmetic exception happen, it will just catch this and it will just skip another catch. It will just go for the last one. Okay, so I will just copy this. I will just print the right message here. Then exception, I will just change this message. Now you can see which block got executed. Now you can see arithmetic exception block, this block actually. Okay, so we can have multiple catch block, but you should remember that the sequence should be from specific to generic. Okay, so this is specific one, this is generic actually, because this is a parent. You cannot put like this. If you put this catch on the top, it will simply give the error. Now it will not give the error for this because this is a parent. This code is working. That's fine. That there is no issue. But now I will just hover the mouse on the error message. You can see it's an unreachable catch block. Why it is unreachable? Because this is a parent. This can handle any exception, right? It will include arithmetic as well as array out of bound exception. Okay, because we have put the parent at the top. There is no need for this child exceptions. So simply this will throw the error. This will just show the error here at a compile time. So we should put the exception in such a way that it should be from specific to generic. This sequence should be maintained at the time of writing this catch block. Okay, fine. Now, along with the try catch block, there is one more keyword called as a finally. Yeah. Okay. Suppose in case, in this case, actually in catch block, I have just printed the sentence. But in some cases, we might write some code in the catch block as well. For example, if this fail, it will go to this first catch block, and I will just perform some action here in the catch block. I can write a code in the catch block. Okay. So I will just put integer c is equal to 2 divided by 0. Suppose this action I have performed. Okay. So this also throw the exception, right? So this will throw the exception. It will go for the, it will just terminate the program. That's it. Okay. I will just commenting this formally, the finally for now. We'll write it again and we'll see the output for this program now. Now you can see we got the exception, but where we got the exception, it's a hierarchy actually, you can see. I will just go to the line number 20. Now here I got the exception. There are multiple catch block below this catch block, but it is not, we are not using try keyword here in this case. That's why it got terminated abnormally. So what happened in some cases, try also fail, catch also fail. In that case, at least some code should be executed. Okay, that's why we write finally. Okay, so I will put this system. In finally block. Now I'll execute this. It will throw the error, but it will just print the finally sentence as well. In final blocks, you can see this got executed even if you got the exception. Okay. First, this printed this part, and then it will went for the finally block. Okay, this is a try, catch, and finally keyword. So, any questions so far in this try, catch, and finally? Finally is mostly used for some tear down operation actually. So suppose our script got failed in between, we should close the browser, right? So in that type of code, we just simply put in the finally. So our browser won't be open at the end of the execution. There can be multiple scenarios. I'm just putting one or two example in front of you to understand more. Okay, fine. This is a try, catch, and finally. Then, yeah, I'm reading this information from the slide. Okay, try block. A block of code causes exception. This is actually the exception object creator. Actually, exception created in try block actually. Then it throw the exception to the object, which is called by the catch block. So catch block is a block of code that catches and handle the exception thrown by the try block. So we just call this catch block as an exception handler. Okay, that's for the try, catch, and finally. Then we move for the throw and throws. Sorry, throw and throws. So throw is basically used to handle the exception inside the method throw keyword. Okay, and throws we are using with the method signature. Method signature means here actually. Here we can just put the throws keyword. Okay, so I'll just write some different method now. This is a method A. I will just write method B. Writing some code here. Just putting some line code here. Still it is not showing any error. Let me try for some few more methods that may show the error. Not sure on why not getting error for this for the file. Okay, I will show this in next subsequent sessions. Okay, fine. Till the time I will just try this exception manually. We can just put this throws keyword. Throws IO exception, comma, SQL exception. This kind of exception we can give using throws keyword. Okay, so even if there is some issue in this method B, it will not terminate abnormally. Okay, that's the intention of this throws keyword. Okay, so I'll give for throw as well. Throw number exceeded its count. This kind of error can be handled using the throw keyword. There is some syntax, I think. New throw. I will just explain this throw at inside method in later section. Actually, I just missed this concept. Okay, so this is looks like this part only. I've written this throw, and we have to pass the customized message here in the throw. Okay, there is some syntax error now. Okay, so I'm just reading this slide. Java throw keyword is used to explicit throw the an exception. Explicit means in this inside method actually. If you are put this method like this, if the I will just putting some blind condition account number greater than account number dot length greater than 10, then it should throw this error. This kind of exception can be handled by using throw keyword. Okay. Then throws Java throws keywords used to declare the exception. Declare exception means here along with the method signature. This is also called as a method signature. Okay, this is the method signature. Okay, checked exception cannot be propagated using throw exception. Okay, checked exception means this exception actually. We cannot use this exception in this throw. Checked exception can be propagated with the throws. Means this exception I have shown you, we can use it using the throws. So you should not worry about this part actually, throws which exception can be put here, because if you're writing the code, you will get the suggestion like this actually, and it will just ask you to add this exception at the with the throws keyword runtime at compile time actually. Okay, throws is followed by the instance, and throws is followed by the class. Class means yeah, that's fine. Okay, this is throw is used within the method. Throw is used with the method signature. That's fine. You cannot throw multiple exception. Okay, so at a time we can throw only one exception in a single line, and in the multiple exception we can see we have added multiple exception in the throws keyword, so we can handle this multiple exception in the throws. Okay. Now you can see this IO exception is a class actually. Okay. This XOL exception is a class. Okay. So that's why sentence written is here. Throws is followed by the class, and throw is followed by the instance. Instance means the object. We should there is some syntax to create this throw. Actually, I should use throwable class and dot throw, but I just not recalling that. So I can just show this throw, how to use throw in next session. Okay, any doubts here in the throws exception handling? We have 15 minutes now. So we have 15 minutes now. So we will not go for the next session, next slide. It's a collection, but then it's an important part. So any
Yogesh?
questions you can ask? Yeah, Shri.
Okay. Let everybody complete if they have any questions to ask. Post which give them an assignment for whatever we have covered from past 1 week, right? Give them an assignment, please.
Okay. Okay, fine. I can give the assignment.
And by next Saturday or Sunday, probably Saturday, we will review the same.
Yep. That's actually great because we should understand the concept thoroughly. Then only
Yes.
there is a meaning. Yeah. Fine.
And until that time, I won't be sharing that Git code. I believe you might have shared it yesterday. That's why I didn't ask for that. They don't have to take the code from there, or else let them implement all the classes, packages, inheritance concepts with the comment line stating that what is what.
Okay. Fine. That's great actually. I'm just writing some assignments here. Meanwhile, just think, guys, and just ask me question. Till that time, I will just prepare the assignment for you.
Throw and throws. Okay.
Any question there?
Yes.
Actually, I'm not getting the chat window today properly. So
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Throw and throws are not clear. Okay. So I think there are few questions again.
Correct.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. One question from the Pooja. Can you make the constructor as a private? No. If you make it as private, how we can create the object? No, we cannot. Pooja. Then question from the Ravi. Exception is object, which can represent at runtime problem, right? Just hiding one window. Yeah. Right. To avoid the abnormal termination is called as exception handling, right? Yeah, exception is basically, yeah, of course, if you're expecting some abnormal issue, abnormal termination at runtime, that case we should write a particular code. For example, try catch throws that we are calling as exception handling. Ravi. Okay, how to use throws? We don't want to use the try catch block. Okay, so every time you cannot use throws, you must go for the try catch block, and only for the checked exception. Checked exception means I will tell you example. SQL exception means which exception you will get at compile time, that should be handled by the throws. Okay. And in some cases, I will just show you the example again one more time here. You can add some unchecked exception at the throws keyword. That's fine. You can just simply avoid the try catch and you can just put, but I will recommend you should put the try catch. Because what will happen if you are using this method in subsequent classes, and if you are using try catch here in this, if you are just putting throws keyword here, so what will happen in next method we are accessing this method, it will just ask you to again handle the exception. So that's not a best practice actually. Always go for the try catch inside the method, and for the checked exception that is handled by the compiler, go for the throws keyword. Again, miss the chat window. What's happening today? Am I audible? Yeah, fine. I'm seeing the window. You're fine now. Okay. Fine. Can we question from the Diksha Bajaj? How to use throws? Yeah, we don't want. Yeah, that's fine. That question is clear. Okay. Yeah, right. The syntax pinged by the Shubham, that throw new exception actually. That's the way to use the throw. Okay. So I will just write that syntax first. Right. Exception. Yeah, guys, this is a syntax. This is a syntax to use the throw keyword. Throw new exception, and then we can use our customized exception here as per our requirement. Okay, that is given by the Shubham. Thanks, Shubham. Okay, fine. Okay, Diksha, throw and throws are clear for you because you have pinged the question 5 minutes before. Yes, Shivan, I will explain the rethrowing exception as well. Yeah, throw means we can create our customized exception, we can say. Means as per our requirement. Suppose if you want to type something in that with the message, we can use throw keyword. Okay, fine. Then throw, that's fine. Okay, Ritesh, any doubts here now? Again, you have pinged question 5 minutes before. Ritesh, can you explain it again? No, sir, clear. Okay, fine. Shubham, can you explain the question again? How to handle the class level exception means what? You can unmute, guys, and talk directly. No issue. Absolutely.
Okay, so I want some sort of example for exception at the parent class. Like inheritance concept we must use, right?
Yes.
Like inheritance concept. Suppose my parent class is class A, and it is going to throw some exception which I don't know. So I am using the parent class of exception, right? And
Yes.
I am extending exception. So that type of example, one example.
Okay. Now, actually, I have suggested if you are suppose if you are extending this method to the another class, right? So what will happen? It will just look for the exception there as well. But if you are using try catch, so it will not ask for any exception handling there while calling. But in some cases, if you are not using this try catch and if you are using throws keyword here, okay. So if you are using throws keyword here and if you are inheriting this method to the new class, then it will simply ask to handle the exception at the child class as well. So when you are using inheritance concept, don't go for these throws. Just use try catch always. So next time you don't have to do any extra coding at the child classes. Clear?
Yes, I got it. But I want an exception to be at the parent level. At the parent level means at the parent class. If you can go upwards, if you can go up.
Yeah, I will go up.
Okay, so this public class exception handling is the parent class, right? This is the class. So I want an exception example for at this level.
No. Actually, Shubham, you cannot handle the exception as class level. Simply, you have to handle the exception as method level, right? Because method is a functional piece of code.
Yes.
And there only you will get the exception. Suppose in one class there are 10 methods. How we can judge which method will we get which exception? So that's not possible.
Okay. So for that, I would ask that this public static void method is the main method, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know whether some exception will be thrown by the main method or not. I don't know.
Yes, you can get.
Yes, I can
Simple.
do. Right.
It's again method, right?
Okay.
It's a method simply. Don't think it's a main method. It's a method simply for
It's a
us.
method, right? It's a
Okay.
method. Right?
Yeah.
So suppose this method will be throwing some exception.
Mhm.
So I can write over here, right? Throw
Mhm.
some here or using the try catch.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Of course, you can write try catch here as
But
well. That's
mm,
perfectly no issue.
yes. So is there any possibility that an exception can be handled at class level? Like suppose public class exception handling extend exception. So
No,
this
no,
part will
no,
okay.
no. Actually, we are not handling exception that way. If you are getting an exception in main method, we'll simply use try catch throws.
Okay.
If you are talking about any class extending that exception class,
Yes.
that again we are creating some few customized exception again.
Okay.
Okay. Suppose
Okay.
you are creating class. For example, I will just tell you the example.
Okay.
That is again creating customized exception concept. That's a different concept again. I will just put some random name here now. New class. No, extends exception total. Okay, yeah. So in exception, there are actually multiple exceptions are there like this.
This is the parent class. Oh,
So this is a
sorry.
parent class. Yes,
Yes.
yes, of course.
This is it is a child of throwable, right?
Yes.
Yes. So
So you can see the hierarchy here in the this one of the PPT. Yeah, a parent is throwable actually. Except
yes,
parent class of the exception here is a throwable.
yes.
Okay.
And
Hmm. Okay. So suppose if you are doing this kind of thing, means your requirement is to create a new customized exception that can be used in the different scenarios. For example, if you are creating some exception here, customized exception. I'm not sure about how to create now because I have done it very long time before. So you can create customized exception and you can handle the exception in this way actually. You can simply write this catch and the new customized exception that you have created by using this new class. Okay. So this is a way to create an exception, new exception, not to handle the exception. Okay. Okay, fine. I think there are a few more questions. Okay, class level. Okay, can you explain the child and parent class exception again? Nagendra, the answer is clear for you. Explain the child parent class exception again. If you are using child parent relationship, we should go for the try catch. Again, I'm repeating this because if you are going for the throws, again in the child class we have to handle the exception by using throws or a try catch. That's again the code, repetitive code will place there. So inheritance, we should use try catch. Remember this part. Okay. Okay, fine. Now question from Shivani, what is a rethrowing exception? Rethrowing means suppose if in catch block we caught the exception in the catch block, and again in catch block we are getting the exception, simply put try block again there. It's absolutely fine. Simply put try and again catch. So we can call it as a nested catch block as well, nested try catch block as well. That also works. Okay. So here in above code we got the exception. It is called by this first catch block. Okay. And again in catch block we got exception at this point. Again it is called by this catch block. Means program will not terminate here in this case. Okay. Shivani. Okay, fine. Throw means creating a new exception. It's not like create a new exception. We can just provide the customized message there. Customized new exception means it's by extending the exception class that I showed with the new class, this one. Here, customized exception can be created by using this extend exception class. And in throws, we can just give the meaningful message and we can just terminate execution there. Suppose if you have written this sentence here, it will just terminate. It will just throw the exception. It will just give the error in the console. So we should aware, we will aware that we are getting exception at this line of code. That's the intention of this throw. Okay, done. I think I'm done from questions. So we'll write some assignment. So guys, I'm just writing the assignment. I will just share here itself, and then you can go ahead with the assignment. I'm getting some more questions, so I will answer that. Think about the third question, write a program to print a pattern. You can do this by using the loops. So you have to think what loop can be used here. So any more things? There is no concept like a grandparent class. Okay, so for your understanding, I'm just putting the grandparent class here because it's a parent of parent. You will not get this word in the Google. It's for your understanding. And guys, don't copy the code from the Google because I have Googled almost maximum things from the Google. I will able to figure out what code copied from the Google. So it is for only your understanding. So you will not able to understand, you can get back to me. Okay. So that's always better to get the things clarified. Then, yes, Ravi, I'm reading your question. So a catch exception e print stack trace. We can use this one also, right? Yeah, we can use this e print stack trace for printing this stack. Stack means where actually our code got failed. So I will show that as well. Let me write this assignment. So these are the few assignment question. This is a basic one. You can just go through it. I am just pinging this in the chat window. I will just figure out some more questions so that more on the conceptual basis. So I will just give that by tomorrow. You can just copy these questions to your local system. Okay. Okay, I will just go for the Ravi's question. What is actually meaning of that? I will just tell you. Okay, so suppose this is the exception E1. You can give any name actually, E1. It's a reference again. Okay, so there are multiple methods here. E1 dot get stack trace. Most frequently use this get stack trace. This is used to print the stack. Stack means where actually our code got failed. I will just execute this and show you. Actually exception got caught here. That's why this is not printed. Oh, print. I have to use print statement, print stack trace. I used wrong method. Now you can see this exception we printed by using this sentence actually. If you comment out this will not get printed. Okay, that is use of this print stack trace. I think that is a question. Let me go for chat window again. Yeah, okay. Ravi. So for today, that's it from my side, guys. We are running 6 minutes late.
Thank you, Yogesh.
Yeah, thank you, Shri.
Thank you. Take care. Have a
Yeah,
wonderful
guys,
time.
if you have any questions, you can ping me as well. Okay, so I will be available for some time. Okay, just get it doubts clarified. So we can proceed for the Selenium, because if you are starting with the Selenium, we are not looking much for the Java part. Okay. Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Yeah, bye. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.